The reason we're creating these experiences and what we're trying to do is we're trying to create trust, right? We are trying to stand out. We are trying to get clear messaging to people. Welcome to Event Marketing Redefined, our live show. As always, thanks for taking an hour in the middle of your week. We're going to give you the best 60 minutes that we got. Really cool topic today, right? Designing smarter experiences that actually move people. We got Stuart with me. Stuart he's been here before. He's done the podcast before. We've had conversations. So he's been a great guest, had some really good discussions. And today we kind of wanted to go a little deeper into some of his experience and some of his expertise, which I think is timely and good. So those of you that don't know Stuart, he's the creative lead of experiential marketing at Zendesk, but big background on both the production side, the agency side, and he's kind of played on both sides of the field, doing a lot of the same stuff. So Stuart, welcome. Thanks for doing this, man. Always love talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I'm super excited and love everything that you guys have been doing for
Awesome,
many
man. Let's do it. So just to kind of set the tone for today, right? So we called today Design Smarter Experiences that Actually Move People. So it got me thinking, right? Stuart's going to show us all this cool stuff. Everybody is into the buzzwords experiential and experiences, and everybody wants to engage their customer and all these really, really cool things. But what it really made me think about was we're all trying as event marketers or designers, right? Or partners like ourselves for event marketers, we're all trying to get the audience from one place to the next in their journey with us, right? We're trying to move the audience. We're trying to move them. So I just built kind of a list of like, when it gets down to the brass tacks of it, a lot of times, particularly in the B2B space, right, of what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people from no awareness to awareness, from kind of confused on us to a clear value proposition. We're trying to get them like interested to considering, right? Like, I'm not really sure, but then I'm considering working with them. Like, you're in their brain. We're getting someone from lead to pipeline opportunity, from opportunity to a closed conversion, from a customer to a fan, from a customer to working in more verticals and services that we have. And you can go on and on and on of these different things that we're trying to move people towards when we go to trade shows, when we put on a brand activation, when we host or run our own event. These are the business objectives that we are trying to accomplish and the pipeline that we are trying to create. So a couple things that it got me thinking about is the reason we're creating these experiences and what we're trying to do is we're trying to create trust, right? We are trying to stand out. We are trying to get clear messaging to people. Clear messaging, I think, it's like an underrated thing. Are you telling the story? Are you delivering that message creatively? And are people leaving thinking what you want them to think and feeling what you want them to feel? I wrote in here, surprise and delight. I just love that term. I think with what we do, surprise and delight can be around every corner in a small detail all the way to a big detail. And of course, you're trying to create unique experiences that are memorable, right? When people remember stuff. Few things to tie into this here as I kick us off is one, a very important thing is looking at what we would consider this new generation, right? I am a millennial, so I can't like point the finger, this new generation. I am a millennial, but millennials and Gen Z. I did some data searching on ChatGPT, just trying to like aggregate information and surveys. But like the overall consensus is that they look to experiences more than things, right? So experiences over things and memories over promotion is what all the information is coming back. So I found a whole bunch of studies and a whole bunch of stats. And I said, hey, just kind of mash them together for me and give me a decent statistic. And it's saying that 78% of millennials and Gen Z prefer or purchase experiences over things. And more than that, I think it was like 85% I have here written down, memories over promotion. They don't want to be promoted to. They want memories. They want the experience. So I think in events, perfect way for us to sort of understand how events have shifted from maybe 10, 15 years ago, right? Different audiences and a lot has changed. So I just wanted to kick us off with that, Stuart. I wanted to get kind of like my thoughts out there on why designing these smart experiences for people is so important, because it has the business objectives. And at the end of the day, that's what we're doing at these events a lot of times, especially in the B2B space. Let's start a little bit with you. And I want to know, when you're brought into a project, right? Because obviously you've been brought into a project from the agency side, you've been brought into the project now, you're at Zendesk, right? Where do you begin? How do you start when they're like, hey, Stuart, we need help. This is what we're trying to do. Where does your brain start? Where do you begin from a principle sense?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So you already kind of said these things, which are evergreen. And the first, there's really just two questions. The first is what's the story? And that can be applied in so many different ways. But what is the message? What is the story? What do we want people leaving knowing? What do we want people leaving and taking action? But just generally, what is the story? And then I think the second most important thing is who's the audience? Because the audience is very key, just like you said. Baby boomers, they want something very different from Gen Z and even from millennials. So really having as clear an understanding about who your audience, and it might not be a demographic audience, it might be a psychographic audience where it's not about their zip code or their age. It might be about what fashion brands they like, what music are they listening to, what food do they enjoy. So there's also, I think, a shift in not just data that I can get about zip codes and income, but who are these people? What brings them together? So I think those are the two big things. What's the story and who's the audience or who's it for?
What's one thing you're saying with that, Stuart, is I find so many people in our industry from both sides, the designers and the producers, as well as the event marketers and the companies and executives, they skip that. Everybody wants to skip it. No one wants to talk about it. They're like, oh, I want this for that, or I saw this and I'm wanting to do that. And everybody skips that principle, that foundational step. So I just want people to hear it from you as someone that has created and designed these experiences. Like, this is where you start. And I'm of the belief that they don't need someone like you every time to do that, that their brain has to start there too. And then when
I
they get
agree.
others involved, they have to be aligned, right?
For sure. And the word empathy is being used. It's jargon now. It's been used for
Yeah.
many, many years. But I think that's also key is the things that we're doing are not necessarily for me or for you. So removing ourselves and saying, not so much do I like this, but will the audience like this? So really kind of understanding who they are, what's going to excite them, what they're looking for, what's worth their time, just like this. I want this to be worth people's time that are tuning in. So it's not necessarily for me, it's for the audience. So, having that empathetic approach to things too, I think is not in a sappy way, but in a strategic way, in a business way.
What are maybe some tough questions you're willing to die on the hill type things that when you're working on a large project or working on an experience or designing something that you are just unwilling to budge on, that you need the information that you want, that you won't let it get brushed over, right? What are those tough questions? What are those specifics?
Yeah, whether it's a question, but I think the most important thing, if you're creative or even if you're in the account or production, whatever is, what is the brief? What are we trying to do? And it's a brief, it's a 1 or 2 page document that really spells out, it has questions and then it has answers. But what it is, it lays the foundation. It lays the foundation for if we're doing a $100,000 project, if we're doing a live music event, if we're doing a multi-million-dollar project, it really helps frame, and it does one thing, align everyone that's working on it. But then also in 6 months when we're down the road and we've made all these decisions and things are going a certain way, someone that has not been involved can say, what are you doing all this for? We can go and say, this is the brief. This is what our starting point was. And that's why we've executed in this certain way. So I think the brief, again, there's many different ways to approach it, but it's so key. It's never going to go away because it's the starting point for everything, for alignment. And it's in some ways a roadmap for what we want to accomplish.
I love that you said that. And also in the chat, Jody wrote, it's so important to understand the attendees, what their plans are, how you can solve for them, what's on their mind, what they need and want, what change you need them to make leaving the event. And I think with what Jody's saying and what you're saying, I think what really comes down to me is I've been to so many events, activations, trade shows where I'm just like, wow, this is the most tone deaf thing I've ever seen. They're not really, like it to me at times, it would be like running an event where you had a high percentage of people that are in wheelchairs, but not having ramps. Like companies are that bad sometimes where you're like, why do you have that meeting room? They're like, oh, well, we always did. You're like, we're not even having meetings here. We're not even having closed door meetings, but it's there. And then on and on with other things, from giveaways to the way that they're pitching them to just the overall vibe. It's like, man, you've really not considered who this customer or audience is and what they are seeking, wanting, trending, the experiences that they have, and kind of what they're living through in this moment. I think some of that is so important, and people are missing that step all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And it goes back to the same. What are we doing? Again, who's our audience? What are we doing? What's our story? Why are we here? Or why are we giving out tons of swag? Why are we not giving out swag? Why are we dressed a certain way? Why is our booth look the way it looks in an ocean of other booths? Yeah, I think there's a lot of these questions we have to ask ourselves, whether we are on the client side, whether we're on the agency side, dealing with clients. But yeah, I mean, of all the events over a few decades, I mean, yeah, of course, that's ever present. That's ever present. So you got to cut through the noise too. How do you stand out? You said that earlier. How are you distinct? Yeah. How is your company or brand personality coming through in what you're doing? So I don't want to get, we can keep going down that path, but yeah, these are the questions that we ask and that we approach.
Just so everybody knows, Stuart has a bit of a presentation that he's going to take us through. We're going to do that in about 5 or 10 minutes here. If you have questions now or even during, throw them in the Q&A down at the bottom. There is a Q&A box. You can also do it in the chat. Ish will find it, send it to me. Stuart, one thing I do want to ask you is, I think this idea of making things memorable has a lot of merit to it to me, right? What's your take on that? What's your I'm trying to figure out how to ask this, but like when you're trying to make something memorable, when that's a focus, when you know that you want to have that for the audience, what are some things that go through your mind? What are you thinking? How does it change kind of the way you're creating?
Well, memorable, I guess I can maybe think about it in, I don't want to say one or two ways, but I'll just put out a couple options. So memorable to a majority of people, something they can take their phone out and take a photo or a video of and share it. That is memorable to many, many people. Social media, memorable to some other people. Oh, I'm going to go to this thing with my best friend and we're going to have a killer time. That's memorable. For another type of Disneyland, I'm going to go with my entire family. That's memorable. Yeah, photos and videos go along with it, but it's bringing people together. And even some of these huge events, what I was doing up until recently for AWS, it's called reInvent, 65,000 people come to Vegas. Memorable to them. Memorable is meeting people that they've worked with across the globe, maybe across the country and never met in person. Memorable could be the closing party, seeing a DJ they've wanted to see for a few years. So, memorable, it also can vary a lot, but it really is. It's something that's going to deeply burn into your person. Yeah. And then in 3 months, in 6 months, in 5 years, you're going to go back, like we hear, man, going to Disneyland with my family when the kids were little. I'll never forget that. And that's what memorable is. So I think that, the approach to that, even if in B&B, even in trade shows, whatever you want to call it, experiential. I mean, that's what it's all about. For me, it's doing things in the real world, not the virtual world, that create memories and that really bring people together. So nothing more memorable than that.
I mean, when I think of memorable, I think of feelings, evoking feelings is something that I always think about, because I think that's kind of how you
smell is so powerful. Yeah. You're seeing a lot of scents being used now. Zendesk last year, they had an activation with, forget the company name. They make bath bombs and soaps, and the fragrance throughout the show, that was so memorable. People couldn't forget it. They thought it was a distinct smell.
Prevalent.
So, and then of course, food, taste things, but we're so visual. But what am I seeing? There's a lot of all our senses.
All right. So we got Mark Steele said your work is amazing. It's a statement, not a question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks for saying that, Mark.
Thanks so much.
And then Julie asked the question. She said, our company represents 4 different product lines. How can I get the ball rolling to a unique experience that benefits the company as a whole and not a specific product line?
Company as a whole. Well, I guess it kind of goes back to, where are you looking to position your company? Let's just say it's in the natural foods market. There was, an event not too long ago. So some of these are companies that own a lot of different brands, but they want the company to be known for something, sustainability or healthy ingredients, whatever it is. So I think it's the same. It's just, what do you want to focus on? You want to focus on the story for the parent company, then go all in. Talk about, hey, we're using solar. All our water is recycled. et cetera, with the understanding that, and that filters down into our brands, filters into our dog food, it filters into our baby food, it filters into whatever. So it's just, I think, not reframing, but framing. How do you want to frame things? There's
Yeah.
Ford overarching, but then there's Mustang. I don't know all the Ford. There's F-150.
F-150. Yeah.
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 So they have Ford as a thing, and then they have their individual models. So I would say also, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can look to Pepsi, all these companies, Ford, all these companies or brands within, and kind of see what their approach is and see if one of those or two of those fit you. Even Nike, Jordan, this brand,
Yeah.
that brand, Converse, etc. So I think there's a lot of applicable models out there that you could kind of riff off of. See what's
Julie, I think
what you're doing.
kind of to piggyback on what Stuart said, but essentially one of my core thoughts is to pick a really good message. You got to pick a singular message because most time when we work with companies with a lot of product lines or different companies in different verticals, they want to tell everybody everything about every single product. And you just can't. When you do that, you create
Impossible.
confusion. So to me, it's like simplification. What is like, how do you simplify it? Do do all four products have the same end user, the same customer? What's the thread that you can tie between those four products that your company stands for or something with clear messaging? And I would leverage that.
Totally. I could agree. Clarity and simplification. What's your
Yep.
one thing? Two, maybe, but 17?
Yeah,
I
it's
pick it all
impossible.
out. I don't even know.
It's impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible.
You just
So,
confuse people, honestly. And we were talking about it earlier. Like you just confuse. You have to find a way to cut through the noise, to cut through the clutter. You have to have a simplified message. You have to have people leaving. What do you want them leaving knowing? And what do you want them leaving feeling? And then really you're kind of reverse engineering from there for any
and I'll
ideas, I
just say
think.
one last thing is once you do that and you do it amazing, people never forget. And one point is Google's Alphabet, all these things, but it's search. Everyone knows them for search. Now they're doing all these
Mhm.
things, but they established it, and 2 decades later, that's what they're still thought of. So yeah, there's a lot of value, ton of it, almost all the value. Yeah.
So Robert asked here, and then we're going to get to some visuals here from Stuart, but how does an exhibitor create the memory in the setting of a loud, busy trade show during exhibit hours? Robert, I'll let Stuart answer this, but I would say just up front as a general direction, I think the concept of like standing out and being competitive at a trade show is a very real thing. You have to stand
Oh, yeah.
out in a sea of parity, right? And I think that really dives into whether it's your brand, whether it's your messaging, whether it's your logo, your product, whether it's a point of view that you have, whether it's a value proposition, but you have to find a way to stand out and quickly convey a message. Those are the two pieces. And then I think the third one is how are you engaging people? What is the engagement? So you want to stand out and you want them to come over to your booth and you want someone to take notice. But when they do, what happens? What are you doing with them? What are you taking them through? And I think too often people are not really navigating what that looks like and kind of
You're right. You're totally
what
right about all the
happens. Yeah.
things.
Now
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
general. That's general advice. I'd have to dig deeper, but I'll let Stuart go. There's
No,
some
I
thought I
think
have there.
that's the starting point. If everyone's wearing red, wear yellow.
Yeah. It's so
If
silly, but it's
everyone's
true.
doing one thing and you've been to the show multiple years, how do you stand out?
Yeah.
What can you do that other people are not doing? And I don't mean being louder, giving away more stuff. Those are not necessarily the solutions. But what are you doing that's different, but also is true to yourself? And then what you were saying also, you can't just expect that you're going to put up your 10 by 10, 20 by 20, 100 by 100, and that people are just going to wander in. What are you doing before the event? Getting the word out.
Mhm.
And then what are you doing
Yeah.
at the event? Are there some other things you can do? Guerrilla marketing, spreading the word, just talking, conversating with some of the attendees, being proactive. And then after the event, are you doing some follow up? So demand gen, you said lead gen, whatever those things are. You can't just show up and expect magic to happen. You have to put a little bit of forethought into planning, maybe not even a week, months ahead of time.
Yeah.
How are we going to get people to the booth?
And I
So,
love that you said that, Stuart,
experience.
because I think like when I was referring to and talking about having an engagement and having something to take people through, it has to be meaningful. It has to be relatable, whether it's fun, whether it's educational, whether it's serious, whether it's whatever it may be. I think the backbone of that is how prepared Can you outmarket your competitors? How can you get creative around getting people to your booth ahead of time versus just who's walking by and what that walk
Opening.
by traffic is? And that's having a good
Yeah.
relationship with sales, that's having a good relationship with marketing, and that's running a campaign that says, hey, sales and marketing, we have such a good offering and such a good engagement here to build relationships with on the show floor. I need your help to get these people here. How are we going to do it together? And that's really a big step.
I'll add one other thing, which I think is happening more and more and more, but all these events are not just a bunch of booths, right? They have keynote stages. How can one of your executives be up there for fireside chat? How can you
Yeah.
do other marketing and promotions within the event? How can I get my booth in the front when people are walking in? They can't miss it instead of the back corner. So there are some other strategies. Maybe it costs a little bit more. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you just have to ask. But these are there? Are they doing a podcast at the event? Or maybe a guest? That's, again, a page. Are there some other things that are not just the conventional expected things that you can do to amplify your message, amplify your brand?
Great questions. All right, Stuart, let's share your screen and let's talk a little bit about Krea
All
as a
right, let's do
tool,
it.
right?
Some
Creative
fun.
accelerator here. Let's show some cool work and let's kind of dive into some of it and have a discussion around like what these experiences look like, what they do, some of the depth of detail with it, but then let's also be sure that you're giving a bit of a brief on kind of like how you come to it, how you use Krea as a tool.
Yeah, thanks. So I want to get a little bit more medium in depth. And what are we talking about? We're going to be talking about AI. AI, we've talked about it. Everyone's aware of it. What are we doing with it? How do I use it if I'm not a creative person? Well, that's what we're going to get into. So design smarter experiences that move people. That's really what it is all about. So what I'm going to talk about just real quick, I'm going to talk about the approach, some of the platforms, inspirations, and then using one specific platform. There's many platforms, but I want to use one that I think is really super effective and something that this audience can really maximize. So for the approach, now I'm coming from a creative standpoint, but I don't think this is that different from any perspective. And you're going to see some of these things I've already mentioned, but basically 3 phases, right? What's the story or what's the experience? That's key. And then what's the setting? Is it daytime, nighttime, indoor, outdoor? Those are some of the things. So that should be self-evident. But then, okay, we want to get inspired. So what are the inspirations that we need? Where do we find them? And what are some best practices? So I'm going to kind of peel back a little bit of the creative development process really briefly. I'm sure many of you are well aware of it. And then
Stuart, I
to,
love that in the concepting, it says, what's the story? We've talked about this so much on this show
yeah,
in terms like people remember stories. So how do you take, whether it's value proposition, the point of view of the company, a unique product, a service, an offering, a differentiation, how do you take those things that companies have and turn them into a story that you tell in person? Easier said than done, but I love the concept of that. And I love having those discussions.
yeah, and it's interchangeable. What's the story is the experience. So those are, intertwined. Not everything is we're going to do a Marvel activation at Comic-Con. Those are, I'm not going to say easy, but kind of straightforward. We have all this IP, let's do an experience. A little bit different when you have a cloud computing company, or you maybe are a company making solar panels, but there's still a story. There's a story in everything. So, and then the third phase, how do we bring these ideas to life? So I'm going to show you a little bit, just going to peel back a little bit and kind of give you some action, some ways that you can bring your ideas to life, help
Rock and roll.
guide your creative team or work with clients, or maybe you have your own agency and you're just working with 1 or 2 producers and you're doing different types of events. So how we can get those great results. So for the first thing, inspirations. There's many platforms. Some of this is very obvious, but I'm putting this out here anyway. I've been using Pinterest for Lord over 15 years. I'm putting the link here. My Pinterest is organized in categories for so many different things, over 26,000 pins at this point. So I'm sharing it because anyone is free to use it. So if it's experiential, you're looking at digital or projection ideas, you're looking at food ideas, at form language, at whatever it is, it's there. So I encourage you to check it out. But you might not have heard of Behance. Behance is a portfolio website. It's enormous and global. Any different kind of creative category you're looking for, it's on there. So experiential, event, music, whatever it might be. Two really, really great places to find these inspirations. And then
Is
two that are
Behance
probably
just
pretty.
images, Stuart?
Behance, yeah, it's got projects, some information for everything, photography,
Nice. Okay,
illustration,
cool.
all sorts of stuff, all these different categories. Can't read them all, but photography, illustration, 3D, UI, UX. If you work for a company and you're doing an app or a registration page, what's some good UI or UX?
Yeah.
So things to think about. And then two that are maybe a bit more obvious, BizBash, Event Marketer, they talk about all the stuff we do. So infinite, years and years and years of inspirations and references. And then the platform we're going to dive into a little bit is called Krea. Again, there's many, but I'm using this one specifically, and I'll explain why in a second, because it has all of these features built in. You don't need to go from here to there. It's all inclusive, so you can get some incredible results really fast. I'm not associated with them, and I've been using it for quite some time with some really amazing results. Okay, next, so inspiration. So, what we're doing, the whole point of this is me in the audience, how do I get my ideas across? I have ideas, but I can't sketch. I don't know how to use Photoshop. I sure as hell don't know how to 3D model, but I want to generate ideas. So that's what this is all about. Well, the first is we need to figure out our inspirations. We've heard about mood boards. I'll show you some examples, but I'm not going to read all of these. You guys can read along, but what are the inspirations we need? Well, things that really relate to what we're trying to accomplish. What's the setting? What are the activities? And then are there any specifics? Which I'll show, I'm going to run through an example. Is it a bar at an outdoor live music event? Great, which is very different from a face painting station or a shoe customizing station at Agenda, right? Those are totally different things. So how much specificity can we have? Sure, everyone has seen these. These are just mood boards. But I thought these were really a couple good examples and some that are maybe a little bit off. But there's many different ways to approach this.
Stuart, is building your mood board kind of like a foundational piece for you? Like when you're starting to get ideas together, it's finding images that resonate and things that either you like or that are directionally accurate and just starting to build something and get some kind of mood board together.
Absolutely, yeah, it is. It's all of those things. So some of these can be very high level, like this top one here. What do we want? We're going to have a tattoo shop and then a little brand store and then coffee, very high level, which is different from some of the ones here, which are what's our color story? But exactly, I'm pulling references and inspirations to kind of formulate this experience. What's the light? What's the tone? What are some of maybe the activities? Is it high boys? Is it more of a retail experience? Am I selling stuff? What are some of those things? So this is where I'm not saying anyone has to come up with an inspiration board, but we've all seen these, and this is really what lays the foundation for all the work to come. If it's Mercedes, BMW, Audi, the approach might be a little bit different. Definitely from Toyota to Porsche, very different. So just understanding and thinking about this, and this can't hurt. Just kind of understanding the process and putting this visual story together. So now we have it. What I wanted to do is actually use this as very tactically. I thought this was a cool inspiration board. I put the person's website up there. I'm going to send the PDF out. We'll send the PDF out after so you guys can have access to this. But here I kind of keyed in a couple things. It's not about the cars. It's not about the clothing, but it's about this look. And I'll just call it zebra stripe. So this is what I started with. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I can do something with this. So then I took some time and went through Pinterest and tried to collect a range of these inspirations, because I'm actually going to show you how to use the inspirations you collect to then bring your ideas to life. So this is new. This is what AI is allowing us to do, while before it was very imaginatory. Oh, I like this floor and I like this aesthetic on the building. I want it to be kind of illustrative and cartoony, but unless you had the means to bring those together and bring them to life, you were just talking about this. So I'm going to show you how you actually execute on it. So I pulled about 20 of these. You can see they're a range of things: floors, walls, people, ceilings, other things, but really trying again to hone in on what are the key attributes I want to bring to life in this space, in this experience. And here's a couple best practices. So kind of reiterating, but the setting that you want are the inspirations that you want to collect. Indoor, outdoor, day, night. Is it for baby boomers? Is it for toddlers? What are the settings that you want to showcase? High res. It goes without saying, we're doing presentations, all of us. Larger and crisper are better. So it might take a little longer, but if you can find an image, You can use Google image search and probably find the original high-res image, and you'll be in great shape. You can do a little cleanup, cropping images, getting rid of elements you don't want. And then I always recommend, whatever you find, just resave them, because you don't know what kind of extra information comes with these images, different file types, etc. So if you can reformat them, save them as PNGs, and just name them 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to keep organization really, really simple. So that's collecting images. We don't have a ton of time, but phase 2. Okay, I've collected all these images, which I've done. Again, these are just a sample of them. Now what? All right, let's get into this is the fun stuff. Using AI. So we're going to show you how to get started, how to train your styles, which is the point, and then how to bring your concepts to life. So Krea is a great platform. That's what it looks like here. And again, it's not just one thing. It has a ton of things. Everything from image generation to video to all these other things that I'm not going to get into. I'm only going to focus on image. There's also a whole gallery of stuff other people are doing, and it's really great. But what makes this so powerful is the ability to train your own styles. Now, I have a pro account. I think there's maybe a free one. It doesn't cost a lot, but really the only way to get comfortable with these platforms is to use them. Jump in there and try things out. So again, we're at the homepage, go down here to train, and this is where we're going to do a training session. It doesn't take very long. Train a new model. So I'm not going to do this in real time. I've already done this, but what do we want to do? I want to get an image, and then next steps. Upload 3 or more of the same image. Okay, cool. So I'll show you what I've done. These are all the images. I've taken them, I've renamed, I have the originals in a folder, and then I've renamed them PNGs. 1, 2, 3, and you can see there's about 20 of them, and then I would just select all of them and just upload them. Super easy. Going, upload. Now it's going to do that. I'm not going to actually run it again, but you can see it doesn't take very long. All of a sudden, you're going to start seeing everything. It gives you some great information. Are they high res enough? Do you have enough? What's the name? You don't have to do a whole lot here. It's very, very simple, but you do have to do one thing in the settings. And what that is, there's a term called a trigger word. And the trigger word is what you want so that when you're using this platform, when you put that word in, it's going to pull the style and utilize it. Now you want to make sure your style, the word you're using, is not something really generic. Like if I had this and I called it zebra, that's not good because the AI model will start pulling in actual zebras. So what did I do? The word that I've used for my training is called BWGO. And the reason is because the model that I had was called black and white geometric something. And I'll show you, it's right here. Black and white geometric patterns, BWGO. So I've already created this model, and let's say you've done the same. It doesn't take very long. It's pretty quick, depending on how many images you have. Great, so we have that. So again, we're training the model. Model is done. Now we're here to the training. We'll call it the training library that we've created. What do we do next? I'm not going to get technical with the models, but this blue button, just click it. Use with Flux. And Flux is one of the models behind the scenes that's running this AI. Okay, what do we want to do? Well, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I just was thinking what's been going on. We all have shipping containers being used for a whole bunch of different things. So I thought, okay, this could be a cool little case study. So let's just see what happens. So I'm going to start this totally from scratch. You have a couple of different options here: style, image prompt, and even the dimensions. So make sure it's, the dimensions you want. Is it for a phone or is it for more of a presentation? 16 by 9. So what's the easiest thing? Anyone can type in shipping container bar. Let's see what happens. Also, it's wicked quick. It's crazy quick. So it's not done on your local machine. It's done remotely. So what do we have here? A shipping container bar. Well, is that what I want? Not really. That's just the starting. What I want to bring that style in that I created, this black and white geometric style. So we can add it. You have styles here. You have 5 different you can utilize. So great. Now I have the style here. Let's see what happens. Not much happened. So what does that mean to me? Okay, I need to use that trigger word. And the trigger word will say, hey, I'm going to use a style now, black and white geo. And hopefully this doesn't take too long. So, okay, cool. Look, it's starting to bring in that aesthetic in some interesting ways. Now, what's great about Krea, you can see here, there's a little bit, you can see up here, but I want more. So each of these styles has this slider that you can put up and down. You want none or very little, or you want a lot. Well, I want a lot. I want more than it's giving. So I'm going to put that all the way to 0.98. Maybe that's too much. Let's see what happens. And hopefully I won't have any hiccups with connection speeds. Cool. So starting to get a little bit more, some illustrations, some black and white, some black and whites, some of these things. It's not going to be perfect the first time, but generate, you're going to start, okay, cool. Now I'm getting something. It's got the illustrative, it's black and white, it's got a personality. Awesome. But I want this at an outdoor music event because that's what's coming up. Okay, simple. So what I like to say is we're building first layer, second layer, and as we keep adding on, we can gently steer this in the direction we want to go. So I'm just going to add an outdoor music event. Doesn't really get the music part, but at least it's outdoors and we're still maintaining some of the look that we want, at least up here. This is a really great example. Well, an outdoor music event is probably going to be at night, right? So let's just make it more specific. At night. Oh, okay, cool. Look, starting to come together. I have a shipping container bar. It's got a little bit of this aesthetic to it, and we're at night. All right, cool. Now, what just happened? Burning Man just happened. So let's say we want to do something out in the desert. Well, I wanted this to be really evocative. And I think that's the whole point of what we're concepting. It doesn't have to be specific and real. It's creating an emotion, telling a story. So what I've also done, I've created a style called Milky Way. I found some awesome photos you can kind of see here of the outdoors with the stars above, the solar system up in the sky. So I'm going to bring that style in the same way. I found some great images of the setting. Hey, it could be downtown LA, it could be the desert, it could be a sporting event, it could be whatever you want. It's understanding what you want to accomplish and just finding those images that tell that story. So we're going to start here. I'm going to put it a little bit farther down. And let's see what happens. So not a lot is happening yet. Again, still getting some of these aspects. So I'm going to crank it up a bit more. And that's why these sliders are so easy to work with. And hopefully what it will start giving us is this outdoor setting with this beautiful, it has a bit of a desert setting. We have this incredible sky above us. It's at night with lights. It's maintaining some of this personality of the aesthetic with the black and white we wanted. And again, it's not like a perfect the first time you do it, but do a little tweaks here, a little tweaks there. You're going to start getting, okay, I'm starting maybe different ideas you never thought of. Hey, what if the whole shipping container is transparent and illuminated, but it's out in the middle of the desert? That could be super sick.
Stuart, do you create these styles and then you log them, you library them, you keep them? So essentially, if it's for a company or a brand, you can create styles, log them, and then you have them all the time to plug in, correct?
Yeah. You're exactly right. I do. I have a library. I have a library of different things. Just like we would create Pinterest boards of this or that. Then we have easy access to take those things and create these models. But sure, if it's outdoors, if it's shipping container, if it's nighttime, if it's daytime, you can create these styles. And again, I want this to be understood. It's, how can we do it simply? I want to do it simply and kind of fast. You can see how fast. I'm just doing it really quickly. So here, the ability to, wow, this is what an incredible image. I got my outdoor bar. It's kind of got the aesthetic. It's not perfect. I'm not going for perfection. I'm going for concept art. But look, we're outdoors. Look at this incredible skyscape. A memory. Memory is going to be so incredible. Now, what's the last piece that's kind of missing? Well, there's no people here. So let's just, with a crowd of people, shipping container bar, trigger word so we get our aesthetic at an outdoor music event at night with crowds of people. And so we'll get to a certain point, and then again, we're going to want to do some tweaking. We can tweak these things. But if you have something that's due tomorrow that just got shared with you this morning, who are you going to turn to? You're going to call an illustrator, you're going to call a freelancer, I'm not saying that they're not important, but sometimes we don't have the time or the resource to do that. So we've gone from the seed of an idea to what could potentially be something you could share with your colleagues, share with maybe a client. Hey, this music event's coming up. You want to do a bar? We're going to do a shipping container bar. Look at the night sky. It's going to be illuminated. I'm not saying that these are perfect, but definitely more than trying to explain or mash together a whole bunch of images. But, look at these stories that we're able to tell here. What's great is you don't do a whole lot. We can just redo it. It's not the perfect image. Great. Just keep rerunning it. Too many people.
This also allows people to, like I said, from a visual standpoint, a lot of times I know being a designer and a producer on our side, we have people trying to explain everything to us. And then you're like,
Yeah,
I don't know, but like at least now you can start with a visual. If you can't find a visual,
exactly.
you can create a visual. You can get specific because you know the details, you know the information. So you're putting that forth, you're creating an image that's roughly close to what you want. Then you're sending that to someone like me. You're saying, hey, this is what we need this for. This is kind of what we want. What,
Exactly.
right? And it
Kind of.
just gets the conversation with an expert, a producer, or a designer rolling, where someone can come back and say, hey, well, let me ask you some questions. And now in an hour, you're further down the line than you could have ever been.
And the kind of is good enough. 5 years ago, there was no kind of. It was, I don't know what I want. What do you guys think? Now, going back to originally, the story is so key. What is our story? What are we trying to do? Does this fit at Comic Con? Probably not. At Coachella? Definitely. On a beach for US Surf, US Pro Open, the surf competition at night? Yeah, totally. So again, knowing your story is going to give you the guidelines or the guardrails of like, okay, I know what I want to do. I know how I want to, what I'm trying to accomplish. I can't visualize it, but if I do one, two, three things, I can have all these different things come to life. So again, we can crank this up. We want it to be more nighttime, more epic, starscapes. Great, we can do that. But understand that, when we tweak these, the results will change. I'm going to bring that all the way down. So now there's almost no emphasis in the nighttime sky. It's all about
Mm-hmm.
this cool bar with this graphic treatment. This one isn't right. It's not red, but okay, something's going on there. So again, very simply, I'm just going to do one more.
What a great tool.
And this is just the start. So like I was saying a second ago, the platform itself, once you have started this, and you may have seen this maybe on different social media platforms, you can just take this image then, and then you can turn it into a little animation, a little video. People will be walking. Maybe the lights are flickering. You can prompt and say what you want the video to do too, how you want the camera to pan left, pan right, zoom in or zoom out. So it's all within this one platform, which again is why I'm just recommending it. It's so powerful. So, do you spend 17 hours generating? No, you have a time limit, right? Oh, I'm going to do 10 minutes of trying to get the best images. Okay, cool. Massive scale, small scale, epic views, whatever it might be. But really what I wanted to get across is the ease of a tool like this. So again, I'm going to this is another version, the same thing, but early today, just doing the test. What did I do? Shipping container bar, nothing. Shipping container bar with the style. Okay, cool, it's coming to life. Shipping container bar with the style, trying different things. Outdoor music event. Okay, a little bit, not a lot. At night, okay, got the setting, got the aesthetic. It's at night, but where are the people? Here's the outdoor desert setting. We're getting it closer. Oh, there's some people. And then when we actually say with a crowd of people in the desert, crowds of people, same model, that one and the Milky Way one. And then all of a sudden, again, we get these
Stuart,
really incredible things.
can you use this at all for like any type of engagement idea to be added in, any type of like interaction, lighting, things that like maybe you're folding into the mix with the design?
Everything. Absolutely. It's got some really amazing other tools where you can bring in things, bring in very basic shapes like we're seeing with this fish. That's not a fish. Someone just drew these little circles and it's going to it translates sketches into visuals really, really easily. All the things that you can do stuff in 3D, you can actually upload an image and export a 3D model. Game
So
changer.
Stuart, so actually just with what you're saying, so Julie just asked a question. She goes, can you drop in a picture of your booth and brainstorm your existing property? So say you have a trade show booth, you own it, drop it in there, said, hey, this thing is a tired POS and I want to make it better. And here's some ideas directionally that I have. Is that something that's possible?
Absolutely. I'm going to do it real quick. So
Oh,
let's just
nice.
say you have styles, and then you also have this thing called an image prompt. I want to upload an image of something that we can use. And at first, I was just trying things out. Here is a really boring shipping container. So without any styles, I just pulled this shipping container in, and it's giving me the same exact shipping container. It really hasn't done anything, but I'm going to keep all this information. So let's say you do have a trade show booth, but you have a different aesthetic now. Great. Build a little style with your new aesthetic or your new brand imagery, whatever it might be, or things that are similar, and then it will apply it to your existing booth. So this, I'll call it rapid visualization. Style. Well, I'm going to use the same one, black and white geometry. I'm just going to get rid of all the other stuff. I'll keep with crowd of people. We like people. So this is where you got to do some tweaking. So is it straight shot? Not necessarily, but I'm going to crank the style way high, see if it starts applying it better. Still not. I'm going to bring the image weight, the weight of the image down. Hopefully it'll meet somewhere in the middle. I say hopefully because I'm doing it on the fly. Maybe a little bit less. All right, here we go. So now we're starting to see, I bring this down to 0.09. I still have a shipping container bar. And look, it's starting to apply this super cool illustrative style, which, you know, you see it. You've seen it out there. Or the zebra stripes or the optical illusions, whatever it might be. So here's a great thing. Now, again, it's very simple. Do you want it at night? Do you want it on the beach? That's where you can, I like to say steer. We're steering the AI to give us the result we want. And then if it's not perfect, we can just retry it, see what other options it gives us. Oh, maybe I want something in an urban. I'm doing a pop-up in downtown LA. I'm doing a pop-up along with for the Boston Marathon. So I want it to be more urban. You know, we're going to get a retail store and we're going to do something there that relates to running. Great, you can do all these things. So
nice. This is good stuff,
really,
Stuart.
the ability
to
really
good.
bring in a photo, just bring in existing things. Absolutely, you can do that, and it can radically change what those things are too.
Loved it. I love that you did it on the fly too, and gave us some iterations and how we could see sort of like how the concepts advanced by some of the tweaks that you were making. Really cool, a really good tool. I think a lot of event marketers have things in their heads that they're like, oh, I want this, but it's hard to explain. They need someone to draw it. You just want to get a visual so you can sell it internally, or, you can get a quote, or you can send it to someone like me and say, hey, what would this cost us? Right? Like just a general ballpark. Like, I'd love to know, can I put this in my budget? Like, I think a lot of times getting visuals and accurate visuals are so important. And at least this is a tool that people can use to sort of speed themselves up and kind of bypass that. I have
we'll just say this, you're just not stuck with generic stuff. You're just not stuck with what you have to find on Pinterest.
Yeah.
You can start, again, this is where it started. These are AI. It started with this, shipping container bar. That's probably not what anyone wants. You want something that's got some personality, some pizzazz. So how long did I take? 10 minutes? From that, a double-decker shipping container structure that has the aesthetic with a bunch of people at night in the desert. I mean, this is, I think, what most people want, So
yeah.
So
that's great.
that.
Nice. All right. Well, we have
a
hard stop at 2 here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Hard. I know you have a hard stop. I got a hard stop. That was great. Thanks for everybody hung with us for the hour there. Stuart, love seeing that live. That was super cool, man. As always.
No pressure, right? Never any pressure live.
Hey, no, you did great, man. You really. No, you gotta hope the machine is gonna do what you're implying.
Always have to. So anyway, thanks everyone for my email is there, my website is there. I'm on LinkedIn, and questions, I'm happy to help. And thank you, Matt, so much for having me back, and for your team for all the help they've done to
always, man,
to life. So it's been
always,
great.
Man. We love hearing from you. Love seeing the stuff that you're working on. Adios, everybody. We'll catch you next time.